as children, we have heard about storytelling. We have heard stories from our parents, from our grandparents, from our teachers, from our mentors, and we were always very thrilled to listen to those stories. But at that point of time, have you ever thought about storytelling as a part of your business? How you can pitch your business, pitch your thoughts on the basis of, say, telling stories to your team members, to your founders, co-founders. So research has shown that storytelling has a remarkable ability to connect people and inspire them to take action. Our species think of metaphors and learns through stories. Tim O'Brien, who has won acclaim for his books like Vietnam War, has put it in this way: storytelling is the essential human activity. The harder the situation, the more essential it is. When your organization needs to make a big change, stories will help you convey not only what is needed to transform, but also what the future will look like in the specific vivid terms. So here we begin this interesting session with our eminent speaker, that's Souniya Khurana. Thank you, Souniya, for joining us. So I will only take 1 minute to briefly introduce Souniya. She is a co-founder and CEO of Zen Studio. Souniya has scripted a niche where storytelling meets strategy, propelling her agency to the pinnacle of creative excellence. An alumni of prestigious IIM Ahmedabad, her academic rigor made seamlessly with her innovative flair, creating a distinct voice in the marketing world. On a personal front, she is known for her love for cats, and the bold and the beautiful woman is famous with cops for removing corruption in the system. So, guys, beware. From hating workouts to starting 2 hours each day. Wow. We definitely need to understand the motivation behind it, Sonia. So here we are starting our session with Sonia. So I'll be taking a couple of questions with her, where she'll be discussing about how storytelling can help pitching your ideas better, to improve your businesses, and how is her journey being with running an ad agency right now. Sure. So here we are. Here, Sonia, my first question is, how does storytelling enhance a brand's identity, and what innovative processes do you employ to generate fresh ideas for your clients?
First things first, thank you for having me, Sonal. And I have to thank your team because they've been fabulously and seamlessly coordinating
Pleasure
this
is
whole
ours.
thing. So, and I know what NAREDCO MAHI is doing. It's phenomenal that there is this cohort and community of splendid women and people from the real estate and all the aligned sectors. It's really good to see all the activity and buzz that is happening. And thank you for organizing this session on storytelling, because indeed हम लोग यार something that I love saying, Sonal, is कि मुझे तो कहानियों से प्यार है और कहानियों का व्यापार है. But if you think about it, we are all a bunch of stories. Each one of us here is a
So
bundle
true.
of stories.
Yeah.
And if you were to be in a room full of people, we all go to networking events. There are so many entrepreneurs and all people who are professionals here attending the session, and everybody will be watching this on YouTube and wherever you'll be consuming this piece of content. At the end of the day, wherever you are, whoever you connect with at a personal level, at a professional level, we are all telling stories. Now, some stories stick, some do not. The ones that do not stick, there's a reason. They're not authentic, or there's something about it that does not resonate with our audience. And I see Ananta ma'am here,
Good
and
evening,
I'm
Anta
so
ma'am. How are
happy.
you?
Hi, Sonia. Hi, Sonal. So excited to attend this today and really looking forward to listening to the two of you.
Yes,
Pleasure is ours.
absolutely. And Sonal, interestingly, since Ananta ma'am has just joined, I remember having her onto my podcast, CXO Talks.
Yeah.
And what a phenomenal story itself, right? The journey, the experience, the impact that she's created, and so many others that are creating. it touches your heart, and that's the purpose of a story. It has to touch an emotion.
Thank you.
Emotion can be anything, right? And when it inspires you, when you're working as a brand and when you're the face of that brand, uh, the fact that stories touch a chord, they strike an emotion that makes people feel something. It could be happiness, it could be joy, it could be fear, it could be so many industries tap on the emotion of fear while it is negative, but that is what it is. Think about the insurance industry. It works on tapping the emotion of fear. So,
Absolutely,
and that
right?
is what,
Difficult to sell, but I mean, you're going to someone and telling, you might get into health issues, you might, have some mishaps. So very difficult to sell there.
yeah. But that's the thing, that emotions drive most of our decision making. हमें लगता है कि we are very analytical, humans are very, we try to think that we are very cognitive, we think on facts and we think about logically we take decisions, but that's not the case. The decisions are always first made by the heart, and then we rationalize it here with the facts. We try to justify, is the decision right or wrong, but decision has already been made here. And when it comes to us as business owners, we have to think about it from a customer's lens. That's where empathy
True.
plays a big role. That's where we try to put ourselves into the shoes of the customer and think that, okay, what really matters to this customer of mine? What is it that will help them take a decision and empower them to use my product to make a purchase? What emotion will make that decision? I think that's one of the biggest and the most uh, important question that we as business owners need to address.
I know, seriously, I think, very rightly said, when you are selling something to a customer, it could be anything. It could be a service, it could be a product. But if you can't fit yourself into the customer's shoes and sell him the right story or the right product, he might buy today, but he will not come back.
Yeah.
So it's like, empathy and understanding on the customer pain areas is very important whenever you are dealing with humans. I think, that's something very, very critically said. Right. Thank you so much. I'll go back to my next question. In a competitive agency landscape, what strategies do you implement to cultivate and sustain robust clients relationship? It's a competitive world. You will have 10 more companies on the same platform, but maintaining that client relationship, what are the various things that you need to take care?
I would say obsession. There's something that I read long back, that you are your clients. So how is it that you would want to be treated? How is it that you would want to, be looked at as a customer? If you were on the other side, what is the kind of service level that you expect? What is the kind of thought behind, uh, behind the creative process do you expect? If you use the same for every client that you work with, I think that obsession, customer obsession, plays a very big role in being able to not just develop newer relationship, but I think to be able to sustain the existing, retain the existing relationships. There's a lot of, one thing that I learned from one of my mentors was that, there is, of course, everybody's trying to bring in new clients. Everybody is trying to sell, constantly sell, and, build a bigger funnel. What people often don't pay it enough attention to is retaining existing clients.
Hmm.
And how do you do that? That obsession key, to be able to, and retention is not just about servicing and then just trying to fulfill the service or the demand that kind of comes in. For us, it is also about going back to them and saying that, for a lot of times I see that, for instance, one of our clients is Naukri.com. We have quite a few other clients. A lot of times when we observe there's some new movement happening, when we observe there's something new that is trending around their industry, to be able to go back to them and say, hey, we saw this is happening. Do you think this is of interest to you? Do you think we could, probably create a new campaign or ideate on something with a certain creator with you, because we see that this is likely to work. So always having, again, empathy plays a big role, right? I think as a creative business, as an agency owner, I strongly feel, and at the end of the day, whether I look at it as a creative agency or if I think about any business, whether it is real estate, whether it is architecture, whether it is anything, we might say that we are a B2B business, we might say we are a B2C business, but think about it. We are none of it. We are an H2H business. It's human to human. You're
Right?
as a human dealing with another human. And when you're doing so, at the end of the day, you are dealing with their emotions. If uh, today we were meeting an interesting stand-up comedian, and she's the
Wow.
only one in India who's doing musical stand-up comedy.
Okay.
So she's a fusion artist, and she infuses different types of music performances into her stand-up comic. Now, if I think about it, I can be very plain and dry in my approach कि ठीक है, बाकी stand-up comedians का ये approach रहता है. We could think about it in a similar way. But if I have to actually work with her, the fact that there's a lot of preliminary research that went into understanding what kind of content does she do. So my team literally dug into her content, which was, really old content. And when
There.
we were
Okay.
talking to her today, she was
Huh.
surprised. She said that, oh, you saw that? वो तो मेरा बहुत
Wow.
ही one of my बहुत पुराना content है. So to be able to have that thought, to be able to create and come from that kind of a thought process, where when you building a new client, lead or a pipeline, to actually go with some research in hand and to actually say that really care for you. I as a business, while I want to work with you, it's in my interest, but I also want it to be in your interest. I do not want to just make money off you, but I really want you to also grow in the process. Or whatever is it that you're looking for, I really want that also to be served for you. So that obsession for customers and the clients that we've worked with and that we continue to work with or pitch to, I think has been one of our most, talk about it as USPs, talk about it
Mm.
as a value system within the organization, is what I feel has been a driving factor for us as a creative business and as an agency that is in the service industry.
Okay, so before I go to the next question here, Sonia, see, it's like, when you're talking about giving innovative ideas to the customers where, you might have seen something and you might think that probably this could be good for my client. You might go back to the founder with all excitement saying, okay, probably this is something which I've seen and I personally feel this would value add. On the other hand, if you sit with the founder who has his own thought process. Founder has his own strategy which he
Mm.
runs. So probably, the response may not be all that positive at that point of time. And especially, when you're talking to a founder who has been running his business for good 30, 40 years and does not want to do much of experiments because he thinks, doesn't know that he might, how would this click, not like, ठीक है मैं तो चला रहा हूँ तो response आ रहा है अब हम कुछ नया change करेंगे, we don't know how the response is going to come. Dealing with Gen Z today is different. So it's like, they're very acceptable to new thoughts, very charged to new ideas. But when you're dealing with a promoter who's been like 30, 40 years old, does not want to accept any challenge, new changes in the thought process or in the way things are being handled. So how do you handle those kind of situations there?
I think it is very important, Sonal, to for us to understand why they're, coming from where they're coming from.
Mm.
Sometimes there's also great value that we see there, but we also, in that case, again, empathy, right? That's been the key factor, underlying factor for us to be able to work with people who have a great experience and a legacy that they've created. Of course, they have a reason that they come from where they're coming from, but at the same time, we know what our approach is, and we see that happening. You know, you're talking about कि यार किसी का इतना एज है या एक्सपीरियंस है, वो रिजिड होते हैं, वो कई बार नहीं होते हमारे केस में। तो हमारे केस में ये होता है कि sometimes you're speaking to a brand manager says that, you know, I've not heard of this person or this creator, and I don't think this person can do justice to this project. But we have to sometimes convey, okay, you know, while I understand where you're coming from, but do you think we can probably create a pilot or something that might tell you otherwise? Can we park an experimental budget to it? This is something that has worked for us, where we say that, where we respect what their knowledge or what their experience tells them, but at the same time to be able to convey, and that too, of course, you know, going with certain certain data sets, certain established
Research
credentials
points.
around it always helps, because that gives them, that moves the needle slightly. So that always helps, but you can still never battle the apprehension and the skepticism around it that they might have, because like mindset change karna is not so easy. So we always urge for that ki, okay, we've done this work for you, trust us, we'll be able to at least create a pilot. If it doesn't work for you, sure, you know, we'll take the hit. That's the worst that can happen. And fortunately so, because we know our business, we know our work, that has never happened. We've never taken the hit. But that confidence, I think, always helps them see through that, okay, if they are saying it, if this agency or if Sonia's team is saying something, they're coming from maybe certain confidence in this particular person, in this particular campaign. And let's give it a shot. What's the worst? It won't work, and they're ready to take the hit. So be it. So that as an approach, and that confidence in putting our work forward and putting our creatively courageous ideas forward always has helped us. I hope that
Okay.
answers.
No, absolutely. Because, we have faced so many situations, since I'm also coming in from a service industry. Sometimes, we feel that probably the structure should work and we're all pepped up. We go to a founder with all the data points, with everything that we can think about. The other gentleman there is a little deela saying, कि ये कैसे होगा, ये तो कभी देखा नहीं है, वो कैसे होगा. So sometimes, you have to make them understand, like you said, with data points, with pitches, this is how it's going to happen and this is how it's going to work. And probably, let's experiment. So that is something, which probably slowly gives them some confidence to do that work. And how do you sell it with Gen Z? Because Gen Z generally comes out with their own thought process, and especially in the team that you're working on right now is full with Gen Z. So how do you deal with Gen Zs today? So it's like, as a founder, if you have a thought process, how do you sell it to your team?
So, very, very interesting question. And thank you for asking, because my team is filled with Gen Zs, and
Absolutely, I've seen that.
that keeps me energized. That keeps me coming with new ideas, because they are always on top of what's trending. मेरा अगर स्क्रीन टाइम 3 घंटे है तो उनका 10 घंटे या 14 घंटे से कम नहीं होता है. So the good thing about working with Gen Z is that they come with a very abundant mindset. They don't come with a constraint filled mindset. They don't think of कि ये काम नहीं करे. One thing that I've definitely learned in the process is that it doesn't help in micromanaging them, in giving them too much
You
instructions. They're
can't.
very aware. They're very aware. As long as you can tell them this is the direction we are looking at. For me, this is what has worked. Telling them this is the direction I'm looking at. This is what I'm looking to get addressed and solved for. They come up with unique ideas, sometimes things that I wouldn't even think of top of the mind. The kind of research that they do, the kind of insights that they get, because they're very on top of trends, on top of content, on top of what is happening around the world. They're very environmentally conscious. They're very conscious about, the impact that our decisions have on the environment, on the, on the very impact oriented. I see that, a lot of my team
Wow.
members, they think about things. शायद से मुझे कई बार we think that they're very selfish, they're very a lot of people say, yeah, Gen Z is full of themselves. And I say that that's a good thing, right? Because if there is so much self-love and so much obsession with your own self, I feel that they're not coming from a place of, I'm not good enough. They're not trying to please people, which is a very good thing, which makes them say the truth, which does not make them come with filters. So there are times that, in a meeting, I might think of, if I was in their place, I would probably be more conscious of what I want to say. I don't want to offend somebody, but they're very clear. Like in a meeting earlier this week, one of my Gen Z teammates said, I don't like your social, like to one of our prospective clients was very brutal in terms of what she did not like about their approach on social media. She's like, you're all over everything, very brutal. And I was like, okay. But the client appreciated it because the client said, thought that, there's somebody who's saying the truth, somebody who's not trying to please me. And that is one thing that, as millennials, especially, uh, and they want to grow fast. We did a recent campaign with Naukri.com, which was around how Gen Zs want to really grow fast. And they're not somebody who, जिनको आप बोल सकते हो कि slow and steady wins the race. They are like, we'd rather be the rabbit or the hare and grow fast. We are okay with that. And that is what we seek. So they're very upfront about what they want, whether it is growth, whether it is growth in a monetary sense, or if they're looking at growth in the designation, position, responsibilities. They're very brutal in terms of what they think about a certain circumstance, a certain situation, a certain client, or anything. And that always helps. While it may not be very pleasing to the ears, especially to millennials and the elder generation, because they don't come with, uh, they've always been very courteous
So,
and
yeah,
very aware of people think and how to say things. But this generation doesn't give a damn. And I think I try to balance it. At the end of the day, as a millennial, I feel कि नहीं, किसी को तो मैनेज करना पड़ेगा उस चीज को, किसी को कहीं ना कहीं थोड़ा सा सॉफ्ट कुशनिंग करनी पड़ेगी. So I still do that, but I don't try to control them. And I think as everybody here would start having Gen Z increasingly in their workforce, it is best to actually give them that leeway, give them that space to experiment, give them that cushion to say that, okay, say what you have to, just be aware of this direction. Just be aware of what we are trying to achieve and the objective here that lies in whatever we are trying to do. But it's best to not control them. It's best to not curtail them. And if they're seeking growth excessively and at a very fast pace, let them, give them that wings, because giving them that wings is what will also help your organization
organization.
grow faster.
Absolutely. No, I think, very well
Yeah.
crafted that, the Gen Z, you can't control them. You can't, be expecting them to be politically correct. So it's like, they speak their mind. They are there for a growth. So it's like, they're very clear about what do they want to achieve. And the clear example is students today working out and becoming entrepreneurs. Yeah? So it's like, today, if you're talking about any engineering grad, half of them, if you go in for a campus interviews today, want to be an entrepreneur. So
Yeah.
that's a very, very positive moment, when you're talking about that these guys are thinking about being founders at the age of 22, 23. So
Even
that's,
younger, even
huh,
younger, Sonal.
I,
Rahul's son Riyad started his venture at 14.
wow,
Another phenomenal kid, Adarsh Kumar
Adarsh,
Seto, he started his venture at the age of 16. So you only see kids younger and younger doing phenomenal stuff. And that is very inspiring because, that tells you of the times that are to come.
absolutely. I think very well crafted. So I think it's been making a perfect balance between the Gen Zs and the kind of clients at the mid levels we've been handling. And I think as a founder, it becomes very important to make that balance also. Because
Yeah.
ultimately, you get to meet people at different age brackets. So handling them and achieving success from them project on project basis is very commendable thing to be done. This brings me to my next question here. Reflecting on your tenure at an award-winning creative agency, what key leadership insights have you gained? And could you share the details of your most rewarding project? We would love to hear that.
I think, if I'll start with the last question first, the most rewarding project, Sonal, has been our first project. So, interestingly, our
Always
journey,
special. Yeah.
it was for many reasons. And one, of course, it was the first one, but also because as an agency, we began our journey in 2019 when me and my co-founder met in the mountains and he was conducting a retreat. We met there. We had this idea that, okay, let's start a podcast production house that works only for brands.
Hmm.
And that conversation on the third day of the retreat led to us founding the venture in September 2019. November, December, January, February went into actively speaking to brands. And the brands were intrigued, how can podcast be one, what is a podcast? Second, how can a podcast really contribute to their marketing mix and their growth and outreach and branding and awareness? And we were very thrilled because we were getting a fairly good response and we felt ki this year will be very good. It was good. It was, in fact, much better than we thought it would be. However, 2020 was the year when COVID kind of came full flow. And 1st March 2020, we took up our office space in WeWork 32nd milestone. We were
Okay.
very confident that this year is going to be kick-ass because brands are going to love us. And only to come to 18th March and then the consecutive
COVID
days when
hit.
lockdown happened. We were in a 6-month lockdown with WeWork. We couldn't use the office space even for 10 days. And I was stuck in Bombay. My co-founder was here in Delhi and we had hired one team member. We were having this conversation while I was stuck in Bombay for 82 days. And we had this conversation that, now that brands won't answer our calls
Hmm.
and we don't really have too much overheads. ठीक है, अभी office space का जो जा रहा है, but between us, we don't have too much overheads. So why don't we do this thing that we kickstart a
The
series of
podcast.
original
Oh,
IPs,
okay.
original podcasts that are our own IPs, so that by the time the markets open up, we have a sturdy portfolio to showcase. And the first podcast was a podcast called Can Inspire, which was with Rahul's wife, Pallavi. She
Oh.
was a cancer survivor from myasthenia gravis. She had lost her voice. She came back to radio, and then her love for the audio, her love for the mic and
Hmm.
audio as a medium made her want to do a podcast. And she was like, "Ki nahi ho payega, nahi ho payega." And we were like, "Let's do it. Let's just
Hmm.
start and let's see how it goes." That was stories of cancer survivors, people who are survivors of chronic illnesses and travelers in that journey of dealing with various illnesses, whether rare diseases, whether cancer, whether
Wow.
autoimmune. And the kind of stories that came up, Sonal, still give me goosebumps because every story, every story in that episode, every episode was with a different survivor of a different kind of illness. And the stories of grit, the stories of resilience, every episode would make you come down to tears. But at the
Wow.
same time gave hope. And it was COVID, right? तो उस
Hmm.
time पे वो hope शायद से
Much required.
बहुत required थी, and it told people that it's okay. There's more to life beyond this, and you always can bounce back and bounce forward. And that was a podcast जबकि सिर्फ audio ही था, पर शायद
Hmm.
पत्नी का, because she came from the radio background and as a prime time radio jockey, she had that way and that magic in her voice and the way she communicated that it touched so many hearts. I still have those messages that used to come to our and so many other places and emails, how it is impacting lives, everybody from across the country. And that as a podcast in the first year itself started topping the charts. उस साल के जो
Oh,
Spotify
and imagine in COVID. Yeah.
playlist था in COVID. And Spotify has a wrapped playlist, wrapped, does Spotify does wrapped every year where it gives you what were some of the most listened to music, what were some of the most listened to podcasts.
Okay.
And that as a podcast was there in the top 100. And that made us feel so proud, not just because of the fact that it was a chart topping content piece and one of our hero pieces, but because it created impact in the truest sense. I think that always remains one of the special, and then there are plenty more. But that has been one of the biggest. And things will happen, people will come, people will go. जैसे light आ जा रही है. We've seen. I think one of the toughest moments, Sonal, was when in 2021, after 2021, we also did a very big show with Spotify. Spotify commissioned a podcast to us, and two of my producers, two of my hero producers, both phenomenal girls, they decided to leave just, and that was, I think, the first time. And these were freshers that we had groomed from like scratch. And it felt,
Okay.
they decided to go, both of them decided to go together. It felt really tough. So in the process, of course, one thing that I've discovered as a leader, as an entrepreneur, is that there are times that you'll feel hurt, you'll feel, you have realized one thing from my learnings of Vipassana as well, because I'm a practitioner of Vipassana meditation, is that nothing is permanent.
Fantastic.
Nothing is permanent. So, whether it is your success, whether it is your failure, whether it is people, whether it is anything, nothing is permanent. What is permanent is your being. What is permanent is the beliefs that you can hold and the integrity with which you work, your love for people, and continuing to try is something that has been my biggest insight and learning, because there's so many times that things do not work out as per the plan. Murphy's law kicks in, but can you still continue going? Can you still continue going with the same spirit and the same demeanor and the same set of values and integrity and everything together, and get people together? In building the team also, it's so much fun. Yesterday, all of us, because two of our team members were having their farewell, two new team members joined. So just
Okay.
enjoying every moment, I think, in the journey has been another learning key. Can you have fun while doing things? A lot of us, हमें लगता है कि work should be work, but there should be great structure. There should be I see organizations which go very hardcore in terms of कि अगर ये meet नहीं हुआ, ये target meet नहीं हुआ, तो they start sulking, they start behaving differently with their team members. But can you enjoy the process? If it is not happening, it's okay. Guide them, mentor them, get them to perform. That is very important. But can you have fun in the process of building a venture and building a journey together? Because if it's not fun, if it's not making you feel good, you are less likely to perform. So building culture, I think, is a very big thing in our organization. Having that culture that makes people not just grow, but also have fun in the process is another learning. And I think with clients, like I said, being customer obsessed is uh, another thing that I've learned in the process. Because pehle ye hota tha ki we used to feel if things were not going right, or if there was a mistake that somebody made, we used as a team, sometimes it, especially when you're just starting off, it can feel tough how to communicate certain things when you're failing or when things are not
True.
right. But to over communicate is better. To proactively communicate is better, even when things are not going right. Just saying that, okay, sorry, this has happened. Sorry, we goofed up. To be able to proactively say that, yes, we goofed up, but we'll take care. Instead of shying away, instead of trying to run and escape, has been another learning.
I think So beautifully said here, Sonia. So I think, for a founder, like you mentioned, it is very open to have an open communication with the team. Things you are running a business, so it's not necessary, the things will go as planned. There are so
Yeah,
many things, which would come suddenly. There are so many things where, the like you said, your top performers just walk out someday saying, they're looking at a better opportunity, but if your communication is clear with your team and they trust you, so it's like, the trust from the team on a founder is very, very important to run a show. And like you said, the culture in an organization is very important, these days when you are building a team. So, it's important for a founder to first define the culture of organization,
yeah,
because, ultimately that is what is flows within the team. The way you mold your team, the way
yeah.
you handle your team is very important. That makes them or motivates them to grow in
Yeah.
the setup. I think very
And
beautifully said.
yeah, I'll just add one more thing, which a lot of founders overlook is building their own brand.
Yeah.
Sonal, one thing that I've again learned over the last few years. So I was also selected as a part of the LinkedIn Creator Accelerator program, which happened in 2022. And this is where LinkedIn actually selected 200 LinkedIn people on LinkedIn who were creating content
Okay.
from across, I think, 15,000 odd applications that they received from across the country. And in being those, part of those 200 creators on LinkedIn, I saw the potential that building your own personal brand has and the impact that it has on your business. Whether you look at a Shantanu Deshpande today, whether you look at a Nikhil Kamath today, whether you look at anybody who's, look at an Ankur Warikoo, look at
Hmm.
Radhika Ghai, look at, Ananta ma'am, look at you yourself. And everybody, who's putting themselves out is creating so much impact, not only on their own brand, but also on the people they work with, because it's at the end of the day, it is your social currency. As a personal brand,
So
when you
true.
are,
Hmm.
and as an entrepreneur, as a working professional, as somebody who's a CXO, uh, it helps when people can see who you are, voice at that point in time stood for. That makes me trust you. And when I trust you, I'm more inclined to also engage with you and transact with you and your business. So this is my biggest, I think, something that I can just urge to founders and CXOs and anybody who's here in this room is, please, no, don't miss out on building your personal brand. And the time is now. Time is not tomorrow. Time is not later. Time is now. Start putting yourself out on LinkedIn and any platform that you feel is most resonant with your audience, because that will also help you grow and your business grow simultaneously.
So many times a founder misses out on that because he personally feels that it's a company that needs to be promoted, but so many of them do not realize that that founder is like a brand ambassador. So unless and until you promote your brand, your brand may not be able to get that visibility. So
Yeah,
it's very critical for a founder to build up a good reputation, to promote himself, to grow the organization also, because like you said, that people relate to him as a part of the brand. So it's, I think, very
absolutely.
critical for any founder to build up their reputation or their brands.
Absolutely.
Sure. Right. So this takes me to again my fourth question here. What significant obstacles have you encountered while expanding WYN Studio, and what strategies help you navigate these challenges?
So this is something that I said, somewhere else as
Before,
well, Sonal,
yeah,
that uh, I'm audible, right? Or is
very
it
much, very
awesome?
much.
So this is something that I said somewhere else as well when I was asked about challenges. I said, keep external challenges are something that we can always
Always
deal
handle.
with. They are always manageable. They're always figure outable. What has to be first figured out and handled is the internal challenge. And my internal challenge was uh, which I see especially with women often, is the feeling of not being good enough and not being big enough. As a agency, always thinking that, yeah, we are a small agency, or we are, when I hear women saying that we are just a small business, I never hear a man saying we are a small business. It is unfortunate, but I never have heard a man say we are a small business. It is often us, we fear occupying a bigger space. I think that as an internal challenge to be able to deal with and navigate and own, and to say that, huh, we've won
Trust
awards,
yourself.
we've done
Yeah.
great work, we've worked with big, we've blowing my own trumpet, as as selfish as it may sound, but to be able to blow your own trumpet and say that and own what you have done and the capability that you have and the strength that you bring to the table, I feel is a very important thing, especially as women. Not that I'm trying to just create a gender divide here, but I just feel, and I often observe this as a challenge, and something that is more internal as a challenge that needs to be baki sab, every external challenge after that has been managed seamlessly. Whenever I've been able to navigate my internal challenges, which are belief related, which are self limiting, is when everything else has gotten taken care of by itself. So it's predominantly been this feeling that nahi yaar, abhi bhi itna nahi kiya hai. Abhi bhi we are still far from being great enough, or we're still far from, maybe this award has come in, but that feeling that nahi, abhi bhi there's a lot to be done. There's always going to be a lot to be done, but to appreciate and acknowledge where you've come. If I see myself in the last 5 years from where we were to where we've come, it's been a great journey, and to admire
It's
that,
commendable. It's actually commendable.
and to also seek the same set of pride and the set of acknowledgement within the team, to communicate the same, not to just have it here, but to also communicate that to the team, because uh, they wouldn't know how far we have come. They do not know what is the journey we've taken. So to be able to communicate the same, that yes, a lot of times I see that new team members come, and maybe their expectation of an agency versus where we are might be different, but to be able to tell this is where we have come to, this is where we are headed to be able to communicate the vision and over communicate it, and the work that we are doing, the recognition that we're doing, I think is very important. And that's been the key challenge that I faced internally, that I've now been able to work on.
All the people who are there or who's watching this right now would totally agree,
Yes,
irrespective of the gender that we talk about, that if you trust yourself, half of the battle is won. So you need to trust yourself, trust your own capabilities, and like Sonia said, कि brand yourself. कि जब तक आप खुद अपना ट्रम्पेट नहीं बजाओगे कि ठीक है जी हम लोगों ने ये अचीव कर लिया है और that has been my challenges and this is what has been achieved till now or that is what we are planning to do, nobody is going to probably push you further on that. So you need to stand up for yourself, promote yourself, and once you are confident you can achieve anything on those bases. Great. So,
absolutely.
Sonia, coming back on the next question, what are the key storytelling pitfalls that a business should avoid? And what guidance would you offer to those initiating their branded content ventures
What are some of the storytelling pitfalls? I think the
that
biggest
business should avoid? Yeah.
yeah, the biggest pitfall I say is a story not told.
Okay.
Uh, and we often see that businesses, in the process of just continuing to, and owners in the process of just continuing to do the business, often forget that people do not know why you started. People do not know why is it that you exist, and we end up not talking about who we are, why we are doing what we are doing. There's an interesting book by Donald Miller, if I remember, if I recollect it right, and he talks about building a story brand. One thing that he says is that as a business, as a brand owner, you are not the hero. It is your customer who is the hero. And if you were to think of any movie plot, any movie, think of any movie, what really happens? There is a hero, there's this main character, the protagonist, and they end up encountering some challenge. It could be any kind of a challenge. The challenge could be internal, the challenge could be external, the challenge could be philosophical. And they hit a rock bottom, they want to come out of that challenge, and they want to figure out a way through it. In the process, they end up finding somebody who's a mentor, who's a guide, who helps them trying to overcome and gives them a plan of action.
Very crucial.
And this is where, if you've seen Brahmastra as a movie, so think about Ranbir Kapoor as that character, as your hero, and you as the mentor, as Amitabh Bachchan, who's trying to help him overcome that problem and overcome that, and he ends up finding many mentors in the journey. But if you as a brand are the mentor, and your hero, your customer, is undergoing so many challenges, what are those challenges? Do we think about them enough? Do we give that challenge enough uh, airtime? Do we give that enough prime time and tell them this is your challenge? And this is how, as a brand, I'm going to help you. I'm going to give you a plan to move forward and to come out of this and be successful in this endeavor. So that is your role as a brand. And this is where I think we end up a lot of times missing the plot. We end up thinking of ourselves as the hero, our products as the hero, and not our customers as the hero. Which is where I feel a mindset change is very important in the brand teams, that we need to start thinking of the challenges that my customer is really going through. Think of yourself as the customer. That I feel is the biggest pitfall. And another, I would say, as a brand, one thing that I mentioned earlier is, are you as a brand owner the face of your brand? Because if you are not, then clearly the audience is not going to connect with you. At the end of the day, people are moved by emotions, people are moved by humans. It's not the brand that moves them, it is the human. If I know you as a person, the reason that I probably got to know about NAREDCO MAHI is through Ananta ma'am. I didn't know about this
Absolutely.
previously, right?
Mm.
And then, of course, I've met Sonal, I've met Priya, I've met so many others in the process. And every time I meet somebody new, it only reaffirms my belief in NAREDCO MAHI as an organization, that what great work it is set out to do and create so many women more enterprising in their endeavors in the real estate industry. But if I would not know the faces, would the brand by itself make me warmed up to the idea of getting associated and come here and maybe do a session? I wouldn't, because I don't know about the brand. I come here because of the people behind the brand, the people who've shared their journeys, whose belief systems, whose stories have moved me so much that I want to be associated with it too. I want to be a part of the journey too. So I feel that is very important. As a brand owner, please take please take the reins of your brand in your own hand. Become the face of your brand. A lot of times entrepreneurs say that nahi main camera shy hu, ya main I cannot
Common story.
that's
Very,
a
very
common
common
thing, right?
story.
That's a very common
Yeah.
theme, Sonal. Ki I'm camera shy. I'm very shy of dealing with the press or people and giving interviews. But if you won't, then who will? And there's always a first time. You will suck at it the first two times or three times, but you'll eventually get better. So you cannot let the fear drive you, because you overcame the fear to build such a big venture. So ye to fir shouldn't be anything. This is something that can be definitely navigated through. So I feel that is the third biggest thing. One is, of course, the story not being told in itself. The second is considering your brand as the hero and not your customer as the hero. And the third, I feel the biggest pitfall in storytelling, and especially for businesses, is the fact that we choose to not become the face of the brand because we fear so many things. We fear failure, we fear the judgment, we fear the camera or whatever it is. But I think it's time that we move out of that space of fear and own being the face of the brand, because people will come because of you. People will continue to, while it, while a lot of founders say that is also limiting, I agree, but then it has much more returns on the time you invest onto the brand building. Because if I think about Bombay Shaving Company today, I know that brand because I see Shantanu Deshpande everywhere.
He's promoting it so well. Well,
And
I listen to his podcast so many times, and the way he takes it up, I don't think anybody else can.
absolutely. And, in this process, I think there might be times that, uh, we feel as brand owners, we feel that we might need to, another, I won't say it's a pitfall, but it is something that comes with the process of storytelling, is the fact that we feel here we'll have to say things that we probably do not agree with. We might need to build bigger stories or lie or just be inauthentic. You don't have to be inauthentic, you can be authentic, because authenticity is what most resonates. A lot of times founders and brand owners feel that when we talk about things gone wrong, it gets negative PR. But the beautiful part of talking about failures, talking about those vulnerable moments, is people trust you all the more.
True.
People feel that, okay, it's natural because to err is human. So if this has happened, it's okay. And people give grace because you're accepting of your mistakes, you're accepting of things that have gone wrong. So that I feel is very important. While corporate communications takes a very different stand on crisis communication, but I feel as a human, as a face of the brand, sometimes when things go wrong, uh, it is okay to accept, and it is okay to own what has gone wrong, and let people give you that grace, because people do. So that's, I feel, another pitfall, that people feel that there is a need to be inauthentic. There isn't, because authenticity really really connects most with people. So these, I feel, would be some of the pitfalls. Um, and yeah, show up to your party. Like, it's your brand, it's your party. Please show up. Please show up day in, day
Absolutely.
out.
So I can so well relate to it here, Sonia. It's like, not telling a story is a biggest mistake any of the founders can today do,
Yeah,
because they
yeah.
presume कि ठीक है market में brand है चल रहा है तो लोगों को पता ही होगा. So it's not the right way of approaching. And the third point where you said that sometimes the founders feel they're camera shy. They feel that probably they may not be able to handle sometimes the questions from the public or from the stakeholders. So this takes me to one podcast I was hearing about the vendor Goel, Zomato.
Mm-hmm.
He clearly accepts. He says, initial 3, 4 years, I never used to go for any interviews. I never used to go for any sessions for the simple reason I was very camera shy. So मतलब मुझे प्रिपेयर करना पड़ता था जाने से पहले कि लोग अगर मेरे को कुछ पूछ लेंगे तो मैं जवाब क्या दूंगा. So it took me years of preparation to
Yeah.
be comfortable handling people, handling PR. So that was, he comes in from a brilliant educational background when he talks about. But there are certain things, which are not with you as a founder. मतलब it's taken for granted कि ठीक है जी फाउंडर है तो ब्रांड तो बेच ही लेगा और ब्रांड के बारे में तो बोल ही लेगा. Yes, he may be the best person to speak, but if he is not confident about facing public or going to public or discussing on things, so that way the founder needs to be prepared well.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. You need to learn also in the process. If that is a skill
100%.
that you need to acquire, so be it. But you've acquired the skill of running a business, so there's no harm in acquiring another skill, right? If it helps your business and your brand grow, then why wouldn't you learn this skill as well?
He was very confident and very clear about it. He
Yeah.
said, it took me 3 to 4 years to come to that level कि मैं लोगों
Yeah.
से जाके बात कर पाऊँ या मैं ब्रांड बेच पाऊँ. Otherwise, I never used to do that. I had my team who used to do that. कि कहीं पे भी हमें invite किया जाता था, तो I used to send my team कि मैं
Yeah.
business संभालता हूँ, तुम लोग जाके देख लेना.
Yeah.
But at some point of time, people came back and told me that they wanting a founder to be there. So
Yeah.
that's how I used to get goosebumps sometime कि अब मुझे जाना पड़ेगा. So I used to prepare myself accordingly on those bits. And
Yeah.
it was a very, very humble interview which he had given, and really respect that man for that. So this takes me to my last question here. What is your vision for the future of WYN Studio, and how do you foresee the overall landscape of branded content evolving in the next 5 years?
You know, it's something that literally gives me goosebumps every time I think about all the things we are wanting to do and build on. And makes me like really excited and enthusiastic about the journey because I feel that so many things we've literally, because I don't come from the media background, and yet to have built a media business and to have that kind of a team that is doing
Brilliant.
great
It's
stuff,
brilliant.
it just
Actually, brilliant.
it excites me because I feel that there is this misconception that you cannot build something that just a moment, I think there's a lot of reflection. Yeah, so I think there's a misconception that people feel ki you cannot build a business in something that you've not learned. You always learn by doing, and to have that
Absolutely.
hands-on approach, I think, is something that I've been able to grow with. We've been doing great podcasts, great content, a lot that has been appreciated by the industry. I am in the next stint really looking forward to do a lot more of brand films and documentaries. And maybe eventually be winning some global awards like Emmys and Webbies. That's
Wow.
where I am really excited, and that's also in a part of my manifestation journal. यार ये करना है. When The Elephant Whisperer by Guneet Monga won the Oscars, that moment gave me so much confidence, Sonal. That moment gave me so much confidence. Uh, and I started dreaming of that. This is also possible. So I believe that nothing is impossible. It's your mind that stops you, it's your mind that limits you. And I really want to grow that big. That's what I'm looking forward to next, and building a team that's doing interesting stuff. I feel, talking about branded content, what is the future there? It's big because every brand right now, in fact, I was reading the other day, OML, which is, um, an agency based in Mumbai which manages creators. Uh,
Okay.
Unka, they manage the biggest of creators. You name a creator, they manage them. All the influencers, most of them Bollywood and across, the biggest ones are managed exclusively by them. And they, as an agency, have very recently pivoted. Like what they saw was ki while their primary business was influencer and talent management, but 80% of their revenue was coming from branded content, which was a very small business unit in itself. But 80% of revenue was coming from branded content, and they have now shifted gears heavily towards branded content because every brand at this point in time is investing in heavily into content which is organic, because we as a generation, as people are so glued into our screens, we are consuming not just content but also we are transacting based on that content. uh,
100%. So it's
they
like content is a king today when you talk about.
Absolutely. And if you think about it, when you look at a web series or you look at, a very known creator wearing something, or, using something, as users, as consumers, we also get influenced and we want to probably engage with that. The reason people, brands engage with influencers and creators is primarily this reason, that these creators and influencers create content which at the same time has the brand integrated into the story in some way which looks and feels organic, because another thing that has happened, Sonal, is that there is something called as pattern recognition, which is a cognitive bias,
Right.
wherein we as individuals, when we are scrolling on our phone, when we are on Instagram or any other platform where we consume content, we've started recognizing the kind of content that is trying to sell something to me. The moment you see a ad, which
Very true.
an ad or a piece of content that makes you feel that, oh, this is going to sell something to me, you don't stay on that piece of content even for 3 seconds. You scroll, you scroll, you
Hmm.
scroll till the time you find something that really engages. So that is the beauty of branded content. The more
Actually, Sonia, there is so much of content these days, and everybody and anybody has been posting it. So, getting the quality content is also something very, very critical, which needs to be looked at.
Absolutely. And, this is where brands are now increasingly going to add their spends to branded content that looks and feels and sounds organic. Because the
Hmm.
more pushy, the more salesy it is, people are very quick to identify within the first nanosecond, and people are quick to scroll through. People do not consume that content. But where it feels, oh, this was very natural as an integration, the brand very naturally got integrated into the content. That is where we become more curious about wanting to know more. It intrigues us. That's how our neurons and our brain works. We do
True.
not like to be sold to. And I feel that's going to become the beauty of branded content. And a lot of brands, including Zomato and so many others, have started building their content teams in-house, because obviously sometimes when the
Very
volume
important.
of content that you're pushing out is humongous, uh, it becomes expensive to work with agencies. So they start acquiring and building teams in-house, and that makes natural sense.
I
But
think besides expensive, it's also the competition that's that needs to be taken care, because the guys who are working for you, if they're outsiders on the content side, they
yeah.
might work with similar 10 brands, and you don't know how the information is getting moved or information is getting shifted. So I think that's something which most of the bigger brands are doing today, is they're building up their own content, which
Yeah,
can take care of competition, authenticity, everything there.
absolutely. Absolutely. And that's only increasingly going to grow, whether it is with small, medium businesses, whether it is with, startups, whether it is with multinationals. You will only see branded content getting bigger and better and more organic in nature instead of being pushy and salesy, because that does not help. That's something that marketers and brand managers have started to realize. Just working with an influencer uh,
Doesn't help.
doesn't help. Interestingly, there was this research very recently which talked about the difference in the performance of the content, especially when it comes to influencers, how it performs when a brand pushes through a certain script or a certain format versus when a creator or an influencer is given liberty to create content, because they know their audience, they know what the audience likes. But वही हो जाता है कि a lot of times brand managers are like, नहीं हमें यही script चाहिए. They end up thinking brand first, they end up thinking brand as the hero, whereas a creator or an influencer is thinking about the audience as the hero. What is
Hmm.
it that the
True.
audience would like? So brands would increasingly start giving more liberty also to the creators and influencers, because they've started seeing the difference in how the content performs when a creative liberty is given.
Perfect. No, I think very well said here, Sonia. Content today plays the king for any business that you're talking about. We may be doing the best, but unless and until we are able to brand and sell it well, so hardly matters to anybody. So, thank you so much, Sonia. I would just like to have some last two-liners from your side for the audience, so that will be really helpful.
I think, I would definitely give a big applause to
Closing
Kashish
lines.
Talwani, because Kashish has very beautifully put out in the Q&A that she likes the edge-to-edge approach, and she agrees that the confidence and belief gives wings to more confidence and action. And she's also mentioning about how people who love brands and own the brand can talk about it. There's no way a hired actor or anybody else or any spokesperson can.
Nobody can.
Absolutely, Kashish. Absolutely. And I think the closing would be this, there's a book from Tom Peters, and it's about reinventing work. Uh, the last sleeve of it has a very interesting poem or prose that I would just want to talk about. And he says,
Love
reinventing
to hear.
work. So it goes by the title Reinventing Work. The work matters. Cubicle slaves, hack off your ties, flip off your heels. The work can be cool. The work can be beautiful. The work can be fun. The work can make a difference. You can make a difference. Bash your cubicle walls. Rip up your Dilbert cartoons. The white collar revolution is on. 90% of our jobs are in jeopardy. Take charge of your life. Subvert the hierarchy. Make every project a wow. Be distinct or extinct. It's a new millennium. If not now, when? And
Wow.
Fantastic.
Wow. That was absolutely awesome. Sonal, first and foremost, heartiest congratulations for having the courage to catch hold of a,
Sonia.
I mean, a star in communication and
I
have the
had
courage to
this.
actually interview her. Okay, very few would go on that path because she's known for tearing people apart when she's sitting on the other side and giving them the shockers and getting them to think about themselves like they've never thought before. So, firstly, Sonal, to have the courage, confidence to attempt to interview Sonia. And Sonia, you are truly a golden girl, just like your name. Both of you, in fact, your names mean the same, Sonal and Sonia. That's so sweet. This is a very special time that we've spent with you, a beautiful evening. And when Sonal decided that she's going to be interviewing you, I was like, oh my God. But I said, no, let it go. If she wants to do it, let it happen. We loved every word you said. You spoke about the heart. You spoke from the heart. You spoke about people and how their dreams and aspirations as a leader need to be put forward. Above all, you spoke about manifestation and about dreaming. To dream about the Oscars, my heartfelt wishes, prayers are with you, Sonia. And I'm looking forward to that day when I look at the TV screen and I'm clapping for my friend that she dreamed of it and she did it. I hope Sonal and I get a clap boy role in that film
Look
that you
forward,
make.
look forward.
you're too kind,
So
ma'am.
we'll say we also had some role to play in it. But I cannot tell you how beautiful this conversation has been. I'm not sure whether it's being recorded or it's not being recorded. It is. I think that song was made just for the two of you. Teri baaton mein aisa ulja jiya. I think it was written truly for you both. Much love to both of you and all the best. And half the year is gone. We have the rest of the year to take forward. I hope people carry these lessons, and I'm definitely going to read that book. 4 days from now, I'll tell you what I thought of it. Please WhatsApp the name and the author to me. Thank you so much. Beautiful conversation. Much love to you both, Sonia and Sonal. Thank you so very much. It's been a pleasure listening to the two of you.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much.
very much, Ananta ma'am, and thank you so much, Sonia, for being a part of it. I really had a wonderful time discussion with you, and I will really look forward to more of such discussions. Take care.
Thank you so much. Means a lot. And you're too kind. Thank you so much. Thank you. Really means a lot.
Take care. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Sure.